Hello and welcome. Concerning this Natasha and Akpabio case or situation, there is something we will not agree with. The assertion that the particular portion of the Senate's rule that Natasha invoked is to be obeyed in her new seat or the supposed allocated new seat. We will not agree with that. You know, what we have in Nigeria is a situation where those who want to actually suppress you and have their way using a portion of either a rule or a law stands their ground because they're already made up. Their minds are made up. They are bent on what they want to achieve. So they insist on whichever portion of the law or the rule they want to use to achieve that, while negating or making of non-effect which other portion that checkmates that very law or rule in question. For instance, Akpabio invokes the rule of the Senate that says that the Senate president can change your seat at any time as he deems fit. They made it look like it should just be that if I get angry at you, I can stand you up. They also made it look like it's something you can hide under to witch hunt a senator whose face you don't like. And not that when there are very cogent reasons, you can use that portion of their law or their rule, because it's an in-house rule, it's a house rule. Every house has its rules. Now, every rule in any working society has also a portion of rule or law that checkmates it, in which case, that in this particular case, the very portion that Natasha also invoked, that any senator may arise as the need arises to states where his or her privileges have been breached, is meant to checkmate this authoritarian rule. And you cannot say that it's until you effect the new order that you deem as an infringement of your rights or privilege that you will use that particular rule. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to explain. You are protesting about something you don't like, and then they say, obey first before you protest. How does it make sense? So she's in her rights to stand on that rule to air her mind at that particular point in time. So for those people who are saying she should have left her seat, gone to the new seat she's allocated before she can talk, she has made it clear times and times that she wasn't about to bring up a new matter in the Senate or deliberate on issue on the seat, but that she was trying to cite an infringement of her rights. So if the Senate wakes up every morning when they wake up from the wrong side of the bed, in this particular case, particularly the Senate president, because that's their rule says the Senate president may. And that may is also a caveat saying that it's not necessary. It might not be expedient to. It's open or subject to scrutiny before the Senate president does that. It's not an absolute power. It didn't say the Senate president will. It said may. Puts that probability there for scrutiny also. So it's not as if when the Senate president wakes up from the wrong side of the bed, he will just slam anybody with a change of seats. Because I saw also that is a loophole in the Senate to get to anybody you want to get to as a Senate president. You can change their seat anytime. Why? Because in that Senate, which I see as something to be changed, there are places where you cannot be heard or seen, like relegated to the background. Something that should not be in any system that wants to work. So number two thing I will never agree on is that the matter on ground is different from the issue of sexual allegation. I do not agree with that. One unique thing about sexual harassment is withdrawal of privileges and witch hunt. And that aspect of it that makes it unable to allow you live your life the way you should live. If you're not a senator now, assuming you are being sexually harassed, why it's called harassment is that maybe a colleague in the office is not allowing you a breathing space. There is a beef, there is a cold war, there is a visible attack. There is this aspect of violence, whether cold or obvious, that is attached to it. And it comes with the ego of men who have not tamed themselves. Naturally, a man has an ego, which is a beautiful thing. It helps to manage systems where they guide. They are lions, we believe. And that feature of a man becomes very useful, unique, and beautiful when the man is disciplined enough, has brought himself up to that level where he should be looked up to, has built integrity. But in a situation where that man remains an average man who is controlled by his emotions, the inordinate affections, it becomes dangerous. When you refuse their advances, that's lion roaring tendencies in them is neither channeled to something positive. It turns into a rage of anger that makes them feel like, who does she think she is? How dare she reject my advances? So they convert it to something that will harm you. So if I gave instances of situations where I've been sexually harassed. I didn't finish the story because it wasn't part of what I was telling. The feature of it that deprives you of some things and peace is why it is frowned at. They start getting to you in several ways. So people are sexually harassed most times pay dearly for rejecting those who make advances at them, and they pay dearly for it. So why I'm giving this background is to give reasons, possible reasons why she has said that she's been witch hunted in the Senate for the particular reason. Like, the allegations of sexual harassment came with abuse of office. Because you're in privileged position, you use your office to now affect the person negatively. Like, I'm here. Imagine what I'm saying. When people who are privileged, in positions of power, in positions of privilege, more than the person they are trying to make advances at. Imagine the possible things that can come out of it. So that's where the abuse of office comes into. And then the third aspect where she talked about not allowing her perform her constitutional duty as a representative of her people because of the underlying factor, her bills are not taken and all that. So that aspect of withdrawal, of attack, that is covered by what the two people who are involved in a sexual tussle know. Is what played out and what gave rise to her third allegation against the Senate president. Remember, we are not saying that everything she said happened the way she said it. There might be elements of truth, and that is exactly why we are saying that an independent body should investigate this matter to ascertain the strength and the weight of it, instead of drawing conclusions. There is one thing I also noticed. These are two members of the Senate. Why is it that one person received more support, whether it's in the negative, in this case it's very negative for me, than another person? Meaning there are sets of rules that don't apply to every member of the Senate. As the Senate president, all of them heaped behind him, praised him like a god, and demonized one of their members. And even the punishment they gave her was too much. What happened, if they say, is about the allegations of misconduct, is not a criminal situation. Misconduct is not something you fall heavily on somebody for. It's something you either train the person, you either query the person, or you give minor punishment. In this case, the Senate said they suspend people for 2 weeks. This one, they didn't do 3 weeks, they did 6 months. They removed her earning rights. I don't think they have the powers to make that decision about who pays her and when they pay her. They even went as much as withdrawing her security. I think that's also the job of another arm of government, of the executive, another appendages of the executive that is in charge of the security. They went ahead to say she should not parade herself as a senator in Nigeria or anywhere else. Meaning that you didn't just suspend her, you dismissed her from the Senate. I've not even sat down to dwell on the enormity of the punishments they meted on her as suspension. So all these things, they don't have the right to strip her of the title of a senator. And if they say they are suspending her, suspension is not dismissal. So they now say you cannot, within this period, answer a senator in Nigeria or anywhere. Are all this about misconduct or something else? They are trying to appease a man who feels offended and themselves who feel slighted by revealing something that is happening within them. This is huge. So whatever the case, we have a lot to unpack on this matter, but we'll be taking it one after the other as it goes. It is my belief that all the people who are involved in our governance and can have a hand or mouth in this matter will wave in, because if we sustain this thing, we cannot deal with the things it will bring tomorrow. I had said in my previous video that what I expected the Senate to do is to first make a statement. So first withdraw Akpabio from handling the matter. Secondly, make a statement to the Nigerian people, because their loyalty is not to themselves, it's to the Nigerian people. It's unfortunate that they have even taken up the responsibility of the judiciary, even also discredited or disregarded the third arm of government, the judiciary. They said as lawmakers that the judiciary cannot tell them what to do. They are also lawmakers, but they don't they don't enforce, they don't execute the laws. I don't know how to put it in a layman's terms, because when we discuss these things, we want to make it as simple as possible so that our people will understand it. You cannot assume the office of another arm of government. It's true that you are part of that system, but it doesn't make you to annul a ruling or order of court and say it's of non-effect. In fact, there's a lot they did. So as they are trying to package this thing, say, you get waiting with the talk, say, as they patch them, they leak. This one, they no fit patch them. No matter how they want to paint it and make it look like, they no fit patch them. And you know one thing again. As we say, as they patch them, they leak. Somebody came out to make a statement. A former senator again. All of them that are former senators that have come to make statements at one point or the other said things that are mind-blowing. You know why? Because a matter that is bad, get as you want to take patch am. See, this senator, as much as he tried to be on the side of truth and balance it, he also made a comment that is troubling, that Natasha's beauty is a problem to her. I understand the context and the picture he is painting, but it should not be in the Senate. We have come to believe that the people who are in Senate are people who have already built themselves in character before they get there. That's why we call them distinguished honorables. That you have built yourself to some extent where you can take up leadership. Leadership is not meant for everybody. That is why everybody cannot be on the table. So if you are still at that stage where someone's beauty is your problem, then you have to do something about it. I understand what he means. For women who are attractive, I didn't say beautiful, attractive. Attractiveness is different from physical attributes. What the eyes can see is beyond it. Attractiveness includes both beauty, outward appearance, and strength of character and matters, brains. One thing about women, when I was growing up, I had these experiences over and over. And when I tell my story, some people will be tempted to say, is it only her? I had a situation where even my friends around me as ladies, colleagues, were wondering, what did guys see in you? Everybody seemed to love you. Everybody seemed to like you. Even when I was getting married, they were like, what did he even see in her? That kind of stuff. But they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And why I'm saying that is this. If you're a woman that carries yourself in certain ways, a woman that can engage at some levels from your brains, a woman that doesn't necessarily need a man to take charge of things, you carry with you a kind of aura that would describe the kind of attractiveness I'm talking about. Everybody wants to be with you. Every guy wants to be your friend. So, but it shouldn't be a problem for the woman. So when they make statements like women in the Senate, if you even call them women, they get angry at you. They cited situations where they said people like Itagiwa, if you call them women, they will fall out at you. Even though there's something, the message they want to pass, but let nobody make it look like it is a crime to be a woman. It is never a crime to be a woman, and you should not be afraid of your femininity or who God has made you, or see it as a problem. So why is our 10th Senate making it look like to be a woman is a cause or a problem or something that you should not start managing yourself in a different way? That is something we should not push. We are the kind. We are our kind. And we are unique in that way. It should not make us be relegated to certain things. And those that see women as sexual tools, even though weaker vessels, the weakness we are talking about is not in mind. It means that they are not combative in nature. It doesn't mean that they don't have certain strengths that should be respected. So let nobody see any woman around her as something other than human.